What if I told you the most dangerous threat to your relationship isn't some dramatic betrayal, not cheating, not even lies, but the quiet, almost invisible words she says, words that slip under your radar but carry the weight of 1,000 truths? What if those words was spoken with a casual tone are actually the warning signs of the storm to come? Because relationships don't shatter all at once. They corrode slowly, bit by bit, word by word. And if you don't recognize the damage as it's happening, you won't see the ruin until it's too late. Most men don't see it. They're too caught up in her smile, her touch, the rush of attraction, and so they ignore it. They make excuses. They tell themselves she didn't mean it, or it's not that serious. But here's the truth. Those subtle phrases, those dismissive remarks, they're not harmless. They're signals, signals of disrespect, of manipulation, of emotional instability. And if you can't spot them, if you let them slide, you're not just risking your relationship. You're gambling with your peace, your purpose, your sanity. Look around. How many men do you see bending over backwards in their relationships, trying to please, trying to prove they're worthy of love, only to find themselves invisible, exhausted, or discarded the moment they stop performing? How many men are trapped in situations where they're never enough, always apologizing, always accommodating, and yet never truly respected? This isn't about being perfect. It's about understanding what makes a man magnetic, not to everyone, but to the right kind of woman. A man isn't loved because he begs for it. He's not respected because he gives up everything to earn approval. And no, he doesn't inspire loyalty by being afraid to speak up or draw the line. You want to know what really kills attraction? Weakness masked as kindness. The kind of weakness that looks like always giving in, always smoothing things over, always trying to be what she wants at the cost of who you are. That's not love. That's submission. And women don't fall for servants. They fall for strength, not brute strength, not arrogance, but something deeper, the strength of character. The kind of unshakable self-respect that says, this is who I am, and I don't bend for anyone. But too many of you are scared to set boundaries, scared to walk away, scared that if you stop pleasing, you'll lose her. But think about that. What exactly are you afraid of losing? If keeping her means abandoning yourself, if it means being silent when you're disrespected, if it means sacrificing your dignity just to keep the peace, then you've already lost. A man without a spine doesn't get loved more. He just gets used longer. And the day will come, mark it, when she looks at him not with admiration, but with contempt. Because deep down, she knows he won't stand up for himself. And if he won't do that, how can he be trusted to stand up for her or for anything that matters? Now think about the opposite, the man who walks into a room and doesn't need attention. He doesn't chase. He doesn't plead. He doesn't mold himself to fit into someone else's idea of who he should be. He knows who he is, and he knows what he won't tolerate. That kind of man is rare. That kind of man is powerful, not because he's trying to be, but because he refuses to be anything else. He's not afraid to lose someone who doesn't see his worth. He's not looking for validation. And because of that, he gets what most men never do: respect. Not the kind you have to ask for, the kind that's instinctive, earned through presence, through self-respect, through unwavering standards. If you accept disrespect, you teach her how to treat you. If you minimize the red flags, if you pretend not to notice the way she speaks to you when she's angry, dismissive, or cold, you're signing off on your own undoing. Because she is paying attention. She's watching how far she can push, what she can say, what she can get away with. And once she realizes you'll tolerate being diminished, she won't stop. Not because she's evil, but because people test limits. And if you have none, you become forgettable, replaceable, and eventually discarded. Men often ask, how do I know if she respects me? The answer isn't in what she does on special occasions. It's in what she says in everyday moments. It's in how she speaks to you when no one's watching. It's in the little digs, the subtle dismissals, the moments where she strips away your voice and waits to see if you'll notice. Most don't. Most just nod. Laugh it off and call it compromise. But compromise without standards is just surrender. Love doesn't mean erasing yourself. Respect isn't something you earn by tolerating mistreatment. And dignity, once it's gone, it's almost impossible to get back. So listen, not just with your ears, but with your gut. Pay attention to the patterns, the tone, the hidden messages in what she says. Because words aren't random, they reveal who she really is and who she believes you are. And if those words drip with contempt, with sarcasm, with subtle threats or tests disguised as jokes, don't brush them off. Don't tell yourself you're being sensitive. That's not sensitivity. That's awareness. And it might be the only thing that saves you from wasting years in something that slowly breaks you down until you're a shadow of the man you once were. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to fight, but you do need to stand. Stand for your worth. Stand for your peace. Stand for the kind of man you know you were born to be. Because the moment you do that, the game changes. You stop being an option and you become a standard. If she really loved you, she wouldn't test your soul with poison disguised as affection. But most men don't see it, at least not at first. They think they're just compromising, being understanding, being a good man. But deep down, something begins to rot, not in her, but in you. Because every time you swallow that comment, every time you excuse that jab, every time you bend just a little more to prove your love, you're not proving anything except that you're willing to abandon yourself to be accepted by someone else. And that's not love. That's self-erasure. Love that comes with conditions. If you love me, you would, is not love. It's control. It's power wrapped in the language of vulnerability. And the more you fall for it, the more you lose your reflection. You stop recognizing the man in the mirror. The fire in your eyes dims. Your voice softens, not out of peace, but out of fear. Fear of setting her off, of not being enough, of being left. But here's the unspoken truth. When a woman respects you, she doesn't test you with ultimatums. She doesn't disguise control as care. She doesn't weaponize your feelings against you. She doesn't need to, because respect is the real root of love. And if that root is poisoned, the whole tree falls, no matter how beautiful the leaves may look from the outside. So ask yourself, is the version of you that she's shaping someone you're proud of? Or someone you've created just to keep the peace? Are you leading with strength or are you surviving with silence? Because silence is where self-worth goes to die. Not in loud explosions, but in quiet concessions. You give a little here, let something slide there. Tell yourself it's no big deal. But it is a big deal. Every moment you let someone chip away at your worth, you're building a future you'll eventually want to escape from. And here's the kicker. No one's coming to save you from it. Not your friends, not your family, not even her. It's on you to recognize the signs, to see when affection becomes a cage, to feel when laughter starts to sting, to walk, not because you're angry, but because you finally remembered who the hell you are. A man who knows his worth doesn't measure his love in sacrifices. He doesn't perform for approval. He doesn't need to be told he's valuable. He moves like it. He lives like it. And when someone tries to diminish that, no matter how soft their voice or sweet their smile, he doesn't argue. He doesn't fight. He doesn't plead. He simply leaves. Because dignity doesn't make deals. It starts slowly, almost innocently. A comment here, a question there. Why do you work so late? If you loved me, you'd spend more time with me. And before you realize it, you're not making decisions for yourself anymore. You're adjusting, shrinking, not because you want to, but because you think it proves you care. But that slow erosion of who you are, that's not love. That's surrender. You stop chasing your vision. You cut back on the gym, cancel the night out with your friends, silence your instincts. Because you're trying to protect a relationship that's starting to demand your loyalty like a leash, not a bond. And here's the twisted truth most men don't want to admit. The more you give up to appease, the more she loses respect for you. Not because she's cruel, because you're no longer the man she was drawn to, the man with fire, purpose, and an unshakable center. You're not proving love. You're proving you can be bent, and no one is inspired by a man who bends too easily. Love is not a scoreboard of sacrifices. It's not about giving up pieces of yourself until nothing remains. It's not about obedience. It's about two whole people choosing to walk the same road. The moment someone tries to mold you using guilt or emotional manipulation, it's not compromise, it's control. And control doesn't breed closeness. It breeds resentment. Men were never built for submission, not in the emotional trenches, not in relationships, not in life. You think the men who led revolutions, built empires, challenged the world, were checking in to make sure it was okay to follow their calling? Of course not. They were too focused on becoming who they were meant to be. When a man gives up his purpose for a relationship, the very essence that made him magnetic begins to decay. His ambition fades, his edge dulls, his presence disappears. And ironically, that's the moment she starts pulling away. Because deep down, she didn't want a man who bends. She wanted a man who stands. So what do you do when you're faced with this choice? You stop proving. You stop explaining. You live. You hold your ground, not with anger, not with ego, but with clarity. You say with your actions, I am not here to audition for love. I know my worth. And if that's not enough, I will not beg to stay. Because when you trade your authenticity for approval, you enter a lifetime of quiet desperation. You teach someone that your love is up for negotiation and they will never stop negotiating. That is not connection. That is captivity. And here's another trap dressed in innocent words. I just want to have fun. Seems harmless, right? But scratch beneath the surface, and what you'll often find is a refusal to face responsibility, to commit, to grow. Fun is beautiful, but when it's the only thing on the table, you're looking at a relationship built on sand. The moment life gets real, that kind of connection crumbles. Because fun doesn't hold your hand when you're grieving. Fun doesn't show up when your dreams are crashing or when your soul is bruised and bleeding. Fun doesn't stand in the fire with you. It dances until the music stops, then disappears into the night. So if you're a man with purpose, if you're building, growing, evolving, then someone who treats you like a weekend amusement is not your partner. They are your distraction. And every day you give to someone who can't see your future is a day stolen from it. You can enjoy someone's company and still walk away. You can laugh with someone and still know they're not meant to build beside you. Because the man who knows his mission does not chase those who run from depth. And when she says, I'm just here for fun, your response is simple. Then I am not for you. Not with anger, not with judgment, just truth. Because you're not here to entertain. You're here to rise, to lead, to build something lasting. And when you walk away from anything that doesn't align with that, you don't just protect your future. You honor the man you are becoming, and that changes everything.